Welcome to HR Voices, a podcast for independent HR and people professionals and the businesses they support. HR Voices is brought to you by the expert team at HR Independence Limited. We hope you enjoy.
Hello, welcome to the HR Voices podcast. Where I am Mary Asante, your host, and with me here is my co-host, Charlotte Alfrey. Today's episode is really looking at a summary of our last set of mini-series, which has focused on the HR and People Consultants journey. And had a really exciting loads of conversations. We've spoken to about 7 amazing people consultants. Each and every one of them has their own unique journey. And then we are going to be talking about each and every one of those journeys and try and pull it together to build a picture to you so that you can see if you're thinking about starting your own consultancy, going solo, or stepping out of the corporate world, some of the top tips that we learn from these amazing consultants that can help you along the way. And we will seriously encourage you, if you've not listened to each of those podcasts, to please go back, tune in. We are on Podbean, and you can find us on all the major platforms. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post the video versions of these conversations that we have. So you can absolutely watch them in your own time. And do let us know if you have any questions or suggestions for future podcasts and stuff. So yes, really looking forward to discussing these, Charlotte, because we've had some really interesting and fantastic conversations.
We have, you're absolutely right. And I think it's been really lovely to hear all the individual stories and hear everybody's approaches. And I think what's been really nice is that because these people are part of our HR community, they've been really willing to share and been very open about some of the challenges they faced and some of the, things they've learned along the way, which is really lovely and very generous of them. So thank you to them if they're listening to, helping us put this mini series together. It's been really enlightening.
Yeah, so we had the pleasure of speaking to, as I said just a minute ago, 7 amazing HR and people consultants. And just as a recap, I would say who they are, and so that you'd know when you are watching or listening to them exactly what we are talking about. So we spoke to Charlie Goodman. Charlie is an employee benefits and pensions consultant. So he runs a company in partnership with his business partners, and they do have employees. And Charlie's been through sort of a journey where he has predominantly gone through the partnership model in growing his business. He recently changed partners. Now he's chosen to go into another successful partnership to grow his business. And then we also spoke to Katie Elliott. Katie is an HR consultant and a member of the HR professional body membership. And Katie showcases the beauty of using social media to grow your HR consultancy business. And the key platform Katie uses is Instagram. And she has used that quite successfully to grow her business. And so that goes to show, I think most HR people professionals are not exactly, look at me, I'm in front of the camera type people, and some prefer to be sort of behind the scenes, whilst others are embracing technology, embracing camera, and then using ways to showcase their business. And we also spoke to Amber Massey. Amber talks about how you can go down the interim route into setting your consultancy. So Amber set out, like most consultants, doing business development, finding her own clients, building her pipeline, etc. But also found that through that and through some sort of mentoring and coaching, that she discovered that actually what I enjoy doing is tapping into my experience when I was in the corporate world and then focusing on an area that I really enjoy working within, which is a niche area. And in her case, that is 2P. And so she has gone down the interim route, working on projects and versus projects, with little projects running in the background, helping organizations through 2P mergers and acquisitions and stuff like that. Then we have Katie Walton, whose main focus is learning and development. So as a people professional, Katie talked to us about her experience, her consultancy journey, who her client base are. So as well as working with individuals, SMEs, etc. She also has a corporate focus of her program that she delivers to her client. And she also runs a Facebook group, which kind of gives her the platform to showcase her skills, expertise, and help others in the process as well. Then we have Claire Watt. Claire has grown her consultancy through the associate model. So that's where she brings other HR consultants on board, but they work with her when she has the right projects that matches their skill set, etc. And then they can turn around to say, you know what, Claire, I'm very busy, and so I can't take this project on. Or they can quite happily work with her upon projects that they mutually agree is fit with their skill set. And Claire talked to us about potentially she's at a stage where she's seriously thinking about, in addition to the associates that she uses, potentially bring on employees to support some of the business that they do. And then we also spoke to Kate van der Sloot, who has got a recruitment or talent management background, but has a business partner who has got an HR background. And together they built an amazing business, which really look at offering HR recruitment and other services to their client. And they have also done it through a couple of ways, but they employ people and they sometimes bring on associates to do specific work for them as well. And last but not the least, we spoke to Annabella is an HR consultant, but she's at the stage in her journey that effectively she sees herself as an entrepreneur, and rightfully so. She's ventured out of the HR world, so to speak, into the fitness world. So now she's acquired and is running 2 gyms, and she has this amazing dream, 6 in 6 years, where she's hoping to acquire 6 gyms in 6 years and to run it. So that also showcases that, yes, you may start out as an HR consultant or as something else, but you don't have to stick with it. With the skills that you learn from running your HR consultancy, you can take that and pursue your dreams elsewhere.
Yeah, because I think it's quite important, isn't it, that actually what everybody has mentioned along the way is that whilst you are focused on an HR or a people professional sort of sector, actually what you are is a small business owner. And those skills are really transferable, and as you develop your skills of how to run a small business, actually you can turn that to any business.
I think that is really important, because if you have the mindset, and let's talk about mindset, that came across quite consistently in a lot of the conversations that we had, which is whether you stepped out of a corporate job on a Friday or a Monday or midweek and went, okay, I'm starting my consultancy journey, and then you started, or whether you kind of quietly built it in the background and then got to the point where you had the confidence to say, actually, I'm ready and I'm going full scale onto this, or you run a side by side for a while before you did it. You do need to have the mindset of a business owner, which is, this is my business, and that allows you to do is to think carefully and approach it from the point of view of, okay, Do I have a sustainable business, or can I build a sustainable business? Do I have a sustainable pipeline? Who are my clients? How am I going to reach out to them? And once I reach out to them, what sort of service am I going to be delivering to them? And actually, do I need to do all of this on my own in terms of my finance, my marketing, my year-end accounts and everything? Or do you do what, when you're working with your clients, you advise them, give me your HR and people problems so that you can focus on what you are good at, and say, actually, this is my technical expertise. And yes, as a small business owner, I need to know my numbers. I need to be very savvy about where my income is coming in, what my outgoings are, and to be able to balance that, you need to be able to say, actually, accounting is not my strength, so I will work with an accountant to help me with my bookkeeping or my year-end accounts or management accounts or forecasting and things like that, if it's right for you. And also in terms of marketing, yes, I can do a bit of marketing myself, but if I engage with a marketing expert, maybe it can help me grow my business much, much quicker, and also to get my services where it needs to get to.
Yeah, so if you think about, I mean, for our listeners, quite a lot of the conversation you'll have heard the phrase working on the business and working in the business. And I think that's where we have to really define whether we are going to do lots of work in the business and be the, absolutely the expert in our field that we are, or whether we're going to step out and do more of that working on the business and the planning, the strategy, the finances, the marketing, the business development, the IT support, goodness knows what else. So yeah, that was really interesting. And actually for some, that balance is quite hard to gauge, particularly in the beginning. And I think what stood out for me when we spoke to all of these people is that actually over time, that balance changes, and people get more of a grasp on how important it is to take that time out to work on the business and not just to work in the business, or alternatively, to put all the support network around you to get others to help you work on the business so that you can work in the business, because that's the bit you love doing. So I think that was really key. And I mean, I think, you and I have been colleagues and friends for nearly 10 years now, in our independent journeys. That's quite a long time. And you and I have talked about this over the years, on and off, in the different forums and communities and places we used to meet. And I think it's really highlighted, actually, just listening to all these different people in their journeys and in the different positions in their journeys, how that is just a real juggle at times, and how you have to make that decision as to what your passion is and what it is that you love doing. I mean, at HRI, we say, do what you love and love what you do, and so you do have to make some decisions around that. And when I first started out, I know one person sort of suggested to me, have you created a business, or have you created a job you love with a whole heap of extra admin? Because you've got all these other things that require your attention.
Yeah, I think that is very important, sort of understanding that one of the, and I keep saying this to people, that one of the finite resources that we all have is time. Even if you work 24 hours, there are only 24 hours in a day. And even if you work all 7 days of the week, there are only 7 days. So even if you work 24/7, there's so much you can do within that time. And the reality is, it's not great. It's not great for you as an individual, not great for your business to work 24/7. So you really do need to come up with a good strategy that works for you to give you a good work-life balance, because even as a consultant, it's very important. And it's one of those things that come out because everyone sets off with okay, I'm running my business, I will get a better work-life balance. But the reality is, for the first few years, for most people, it's a real struggle, and the hustle is very real because you end up working early mornings, throughout the day, at dawn, over the weekend, and you do whatever is necessary to make your business work. Whilst that is great, the reality is it's not sustainable, because you can't be at your best if that's the way you operate. So it's really important that you think through this. And I spoke to I was at an event recently where somebody talked about the 3:1 ratio, which is effectively working 3 days or using 3 days for delivering your actual service to your client, and then 1 day on business development activities. And that they included your pipeline, networking, marketing, and a whole heap of stuff that falls into business development. And then the 1 day on your CPD, effectively, that is your continuous professional development, making sure that your skill sets don't stale and that you keep it up to date. And that is, whilst on the surface of it, it's really great, but it's very hard to do when you're running your own business, and especially whether you are part of a very small team or you are a solopreneur, where you effectively the only person who works within on your business, etc., etc. So it's good to have a strategy, a plan, a review. One of the things that I have started doing recently, because I always have, and like most consultants and most entrepreneurs, you always have 1,001 things to do every single time. And I think it's just fair to say that when you get up or when you set out to do something, you'll be drawn more to the things that you find easy, the things that you enjoy doing, and also the things that are paying your bill. So when you have a client waiting for you to deliver something, yes, rightfully, you should focus on that and deliver on time and prospects, etc. But if you're looking at priorities, it's fair to say that these are the sort of things that you get drawn to. So one of the things that I started doing is top 3 priorities or 3 things I need to achieve this week. And I'm finding that it's really hard to stick to 3 priorities.
Just 3, you can't stick to 3.
I've got the 3 priorities, then the list below that is this long.
Yeah.
And the challenge is to focus on the priorities and then start the following week reviewing whether you actually achieve those priorities or not. And I think you'll be pleased to hear that you have lots of ticks off those things at the bottom, and your 3 priorities, yes, you touch on them. And as you become more and more disciplined, it gets better and easier for you to say, okay, these are priorities for a reason, and I need to focus on achieving them.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because actually, we can all put that structure in place and have that plan, but actually the client work doesn't come in like that. And that's what came through in the conversations we've had. You tend to be reactive. So something will land, a client needs something, it wasn't something expected. Yeah, you might have booked this morning to do your business development, but actually it pays you, it needs to be done, the client needs it, you don't want to let them down. And so you kick in and react, don't you, and deal with it.
Absolutely. And I think the reality is that when you look at, let's say, the 3-1-1 model, it's not like 3 days. So Monday to Wednesday, I'm doing delivery. So I won't do anything else within the Monday to Wednesday. Or my Friday is for my business development, so no clients should talk to me. The reality is it doesn't work that way. But how it works is that, let's say if you work 7 hours a day, for example, because it's easier to work with, 5 days a week, you've got 35 hours to do all the 3-1-1. So approximately apportioning how many hours you spend on delivery, how many hours, of course, if a client come calling, you will have to prioritize that. But once you've done that, you need to go back to, okay, the drawing board with your business development activities. Because if you don't, when your client work dries up, you'll find that you got nothing in your pipeline, you've got no backlog to deliver against. And then you are back to square one where, oh my goodness, I've got no work on. Where do I go and look for work? And is constant panic, anxiety, chasing, etc. But if you get a balance right, then at least you know that you have got something coming on. And that touches on things such as different modules that consultants use to build their business. For some of us, we do like the retainer model, which is you have clients that pay you X amount every certain period, and in return, you will deliver certain services for them. So that kind of adds nicely to your bottom line. And so that you know when your income is coming in and you build on that. So some consultants like that model, others work on a project by project basis, which sometimes is trickier because you need to have projects to work on consistently. And then you know that, okay, you build your pipeline to have projects up and coming. And for the project work, sometimes the feast or famine is more prevalent in that type of model. And some have all sorts of different models. Some work for associates at for other consultancies, so that when they are quiet, they can pick up work from others. Some collaborate with others. So in addition to them doing their own thing, they may have collaborative ventures that they work on with other people as well. So there are so many different ways, and others go, of course, the interim route where, okay, I haven't got anything on right now. There's a 3-month contract there. I'm going to go after that 3-month contract so that it's not totally dry. So people use different type of approaches to be able to keep their consultancies taking over. And I think what I picked in all that is the mindset thing is very key, because one of the people we spoke to talked about the fact that, you know what, and it may be the next set of series that's coming up, where the moment they change their mindset to, actually, I've got to earn the money, I've got to pay my bills, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that, they put their mindset change in the, all right, every single time I need to bring in a minimum of X. And so all their activities supported that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely strategies around riding the wave, isn't it? So, and actually by keeping those strategies going continuously, the peaks and troughs become less apparent and the work sort of bubbles along, you know, from piece to piece, which is more helpful. So there's definitely something to be said around finding your strategy for riding the wave as such. And I think we've seen in our own businesses and in all of those that we've spoken to, that in the early days, that's quite hard to understand and grasp. It's quite a big cause of anxiety. And that's where that well-being come delivery sort of strategy doesn't line up well. And actually, you know, we've spoken to lots of people just through the HRI network around well-being, burnout, you know, saying yes to too much, and when's the right time to say no. So, you know, it is a mindset thing. And I think probably everybody that we've spoken to has sort of started now to make those inroads into putting those measures in place to work on the business and to look after themselves, you know, on the basis of put your own oxygen mask on first, because you can't deliver to your clients if you're not looking after yourself and at your best. And, you know, you don't want to give bad advice and poor service. So there is so much there around the wellbeing piece. And I think that's one bit of advice that I would give anybody starting out, is that just understand that you do need to look after yourself. You know, I struggle with that with when the work gets high, and, you know, looking forward to Christmas, because that's the time when I don't actually get a huge lot of emails between Christmas and New Year. Most of my regular clients close, which is lovely. So I actually get a couple of weeks off. So it's knowing how your business runs, how your business works, when you're going to get some of those peaks and troughs, and you can plan for some of that.
Yeah, and also you're absolutely right. You can plan for some of that. And by the nature of what we do as HR and people professionals, and as you said earlier, Charlotte, part of what we do is reactive and part is proactive. So you can plan certainly for the proactive aspects of your consultancy, your business, how you run it, when you go for meetings, when you have networking, when you participate in community type events, build new clients, meet new clients, etc. All those things you can plan for. You can also plan for some of your marketing activities. For example, okay, I've got 2 hours this morning, so I'm going to write about 2-3 blog posts or whatever, draft them, put them somewhere for when they go out according to my schedule and all that, building infographics and all, have a calendar you are working to. You can plan for those aspects of it. And there are bits that you can't plan for, which is effectively, I'm sorry, but I don't know, I've had an emergency at work and someone, I don't know, let's go for the extreme. I had an employment tribunal, whatever, land on my desk this morning. Can I speak to you now, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's what you're there for. You're their expert. You're the person that reassures them and helps them through that stuff. So of course they turn to you, which is very complimentary, isn't it? From a perspective where you think that you have a number of businesses and clients who absolutely trust the advice you give them, trust the service you're going to provide, and want to hear from you and want to talk things through with you, is very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other theme that came out quite consistently was collaboration.
Yeah.
The fact that, yes, actually we are all HR and people professionals, but if you look at what we do, what we provide, etc., our target market, our services, they are very different in terms of what people enjoy doing, what they may choose to focus on, their niche areas, their target market. For example, my target market is specifically the technology sector, and sort of working with leaders within that sector, organizations within that sector. You may find somebody whose main target might be the healthcare or charity sector or something like that. So although on the surface of it, you all might look like you're competing against each other, there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration. And I cannot stress enough that when you're setting out, do not go with the view of every HR consultant you meet out there is your competitor, because we collaborate more than we compete with each other.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have been doing this for a long time in terms of working with independents in our region. And that is something that has absolutely stood out. And it always makes me chuckle that you can pull a room of independent HR practitioners and people practitioners together, and you can go around and do the introductions, and every single person is doing something different, in a different field, a different sector. They've got a different preference. They want to focus on individual things and, experience and expertise they have. And I get really surprised at that. But I think what we also shouldn't lose sight of is that when you get down to some of the statutory HR practices and processes and things like that, you have to have different people involved in different parts of the process. And actually, we can't do it all on our own. It's just not possible, because we have to give that impartiality. We have to make sure there's no bias in the process and things like that. So if a business comes to an HR practitioner, they shouldn't only ever be working with that HR practitioner. That HR practitioner should be making sure that if there is any process where we need to bring other independent practitioners in, that they are brought in, because that's a better process and a better product and a better service.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, in terms of running businesses, yes, you need to be aware of your competitors. We are not saying, in HR and People Consultancy, there are no competitors at all. That is not the message. What the message here is, the message is, yes, we are operating in the same space, but there is opportunity for collaboration. If you look at the HR Independence Facebook group, for example, people come there with very sensitive questions and people get good quality advice out of the group. And that's a way that people within the sector are very generous with their time, with their advice, with support, and guiding people through sort of the journey that they are going through. So effectively they're lifting each other up and pulling each other up. So that is very important.
It is, yeah. And I think one of the things that did come out was that, whilst we're experts in our field in the thing that we want to be experts in, all these things, all these support services around running your business, you aren't expected to be an expert in those, and you aren't necessarily expected to deliver all of those things like putting your infographics and that together. It's good to know how it happens so that you can commission somebody. But actually, quite a few of our people said, get the help you need, get help with some of these things in the background. You don't have to do it all, and don't sort of skimp on your marketing budget either, because actually that's not your expertise. There are marketing experts out there for that.
Yeah. Unless it's the bit of running a business that you enjoy. Let's not estimate that. There may be some of us that those sort of things, some of us are really good with numbers and enjoy the finance, accounting aspects of it. Some enjoy the marketing and stuff like that. It's knowing yourself, what your skills and expertise are, but really knowing that or understanding that you don't have to do it all on your own. And you can tap into resources around you to be able to do what you need to do. And also, I would like to touch on the consultancy journey as a step. So you start off with your consultancy journey. So that is the period where you either fall into consultancy, you think about consultancy, so you set out to do it, or it's something that you've always dreamed about doing. And so you think the timing is right for you to do it. So that is the very start of your journey. And then you start this journey, you test the waters, and then you take off. And then you are within it 1 to 3 years, or 1 to 5 years-ish. You were there, you've done it, you've built your client base, you've built your business, you put your structures in place, you are working and delivering to your customers. And then you get to the point where you ask yourself, what now? What's next? And that is effectively the growth phase, where you kind of go, right, so what do I do now? I've got lots of work coming in, which is a positive, and I can't deliver it all on my own. Do I bring in employees? Do I bring in associates? Do I build go into partnership with somebody so that our prospects and everything increase and improve, and then we build our business that way? Or actually, I'm quite happy keeping my business at a certain size, growing it, keeping it at a certain size and managing it within the size that it is. So I don't really want to set the world on fire. I'm quite happy managing this portfolio I have and delivering it. So that is the growth type phase. And then at the other end of the scale, you have people who may have been running their consultancies for more than 10 years plus. They've tried different modules. They're quite happy. They've established, and they're working within that, and are either just taking clock and just going and quite happy doing that, or actually coming to the end and thinking, how do I exit this business?
Yeah, so, really interesting, isn't it? Because actually we should think about the longer game. And apologies to any listeners if you can hear squeaking. My little puppy is tearing around underneath my feet with a really squeaky toy. And that is the joys of working from home, isn't it? So apologies. And I'm trying not to giggle and make Mary laugh. So just goes to show this is a real struggle being a home worker. But so no, it is actually making some decisions around that. And some people did talk about what's the longer game, and sometimes you have to think about how you want your consultancy journey to end, because actually that changes some of the strategy of how you build your business.
And I think I've told you this before, as part of a mini MBA program that I did some years ago now. One of the things that the course lead said that stuck with me is you start at the beginning with your end game in mind. So when you're starting your consultancy, yes, it's early and it's scary to think about an exit strategy, but it's really important to have your exit strategy, your exit game in mind, because as Charlotte, you just said, it does impact and it does influence decisions you make, influence structures you put in place, and all those sort of things. Because if your business is around you and you do everything and you never really have any mind of selling on to somebody or passing it on to somebody, etc., then you may not really bother with putting system structures, etc., in place, because you know exactly what you do, how you do it and stuff, and you're quite happy doing that. But if it involves growing your business, even when you start and you're on your own, you start thinking about putting things in place so that when you bring somebody into your fold, the person can be of use and of help to you, your business, as well as get something out of it themselves. So you put structures in place so that they can help you deliver to your clients to the quality and to the level that you would want to deliver. And again, if you choose to grow your business bigger to a certain size, you have this basic structures in place to build upon it. And it's easier to even sometimes change things if you have things in place, because you've tried something, you know it doesn't quite work, or it wouldn't quite work from, let's say, 5 employees to 10 employees. And also, actually, if you're going down the associate model, yes, I have a 250,000 HR consultancy based on associate model. So if your exit strategy is to sell the 250,000 business on, you need to think about how those associates that you rely on to deliver might be part of how you sell the business on to somebody. So there are just so many things to consider when you're starting your business and going through that journey. And actually, it's not, oh, I've thought about it today, I've got the answer. Tomorrow, it may be irrelevant, it may be non-applicable, or it may still be applicable, but you need to tweak things slightly. So it's important to keep your eye on that as well.
It is. And I think for those of you that came to the conference, you would have heard Pinky talk, and we've got another session on the podcast coming up with Pinky in the new year, about how you structure yourself and your business, you know, how you look after your own resilience, and then how you separate yourself from your business. Because actually, you know, I think sometimes some people embark on the consultancy journey thinking they're going to set up a consultancy and they're going to sell it on, you know, and they're going to make a lot of money. But actually, if you are the sole provider and, you know, your business has your own name as opposed to a business name, or that was something that came up, wasn't it? You know, that actually you have to think, if you want to sell your business, what are you going to sell? Because if most of your clients would only want to have services from you and you've built those relationships, then there isn't going to necessarily be something to sell. Whereas if you have a business with, you know, good turnover and employees and consultants and associates, and, you know, that actually the clients aren't solely reliable on one individual, then there is more opportunity to sell a business on, and to have, you know, for the business to have some value to you and somebody else. Whereas I suppose, you know, the term a lot of people have heard would be lifestyle business. You know, have you, and some consultants do actually set up on that basis to have a lifestyle business, to pay their salary, go day to day, make sure they cover their costs, and then have, you know, some flexibility around who they deliver services to and when they deliver them. And that's fine too.
Absolutely. I think that's really important to note, that some people set up becoming consultants because when they consider what else is going on in their lives, it's impossible to work full time to hold this and to do that. So they may set up what others deem as lifestyle consultancy, which is build a portfolio of clients, build a business that they are quite happy servicing, delivering great service to, and in return they get the financial incentives that they need to be able to do the work that they need to do.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and it's important. I mean, actually, I think if you really think about it, the UK is absolutely managed in terms of, you know, HR consultants. You know, small businesses do so much with HR independent practitioners. HR independent practitioners keep a lot of small businesses informed, safe and legal, and really look after their interests. And I think that gets lost sometimes and shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've covered quite a lot of grounds and as a summary episode, and like we do when we are talking to people, what are the top tips that we've learned from these great conversations we've had and from our own experiences that we can give to people either going through their consultancy journey, setting off as new consultants, or at the point where I've actually done this for a while and I don't know if I'm enjoying it anymore, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think, I have days like that, to be honest, here and there. I think my biggest takeaway from this, and it's something that, as I say, goes back from, the 10 years that you and I have been in the sector and have worked together. It's actually about your business, your way. You need to build your business to suit your needs and work with the clients you want to work with and in a way you want to work with them, and set those expectations and manage that.
Yeah, I think that is pretty right in terms of understanding who you are, what you can do, how you want to do it, who you'd want to work with, enjoy working with. I always say, oh gosh, when you're getting drawn into organizational politics and then getting anxiety around working with a particular clients and stress and all those sorts of things, as a consultant, you don't get paid enough for any of that because you don't get sick pay, you don't get anything like that. So it's really important to really think about who your ideal client with, the clients you have on your books, and whether you really enjoy working for them and delivering the best you can to them is very important.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The next point I would like to touch on is building your pipeline and sort of keeping an eye on that pipeline as best as you can consistently, because it's very important regardless of the model that you go for, whether you work on projects by project basis, retainer basis, or whatever model that you work to, you need to make sure that your pipeline is strong enough to sustain your consultancy business, so that even as a solopreneur, you will still have costs, you still have operational costs. So you just need to make sure that you keep an eye on your pipeline and you undertake good activities to help you build a sustainable pipeline.
Yeah, and I think keeping the momentum going. So if you stop with those activities, that's when you're going to end up with troughs in your pipeline further down the line. So the momentum builds the stability.
Absolutely. And we've touched on mindset quite a lot, having the right mindset. If you're going to do this, yes, the beauty of running a consultancy is that you can go from freelancing to interim to, yes, now I'm doing it on my own, to actually it's not working and go this and that. But if you have the mindset that this is what I'm going to do, and then you take the right actions to support that, you are more than likely to succeed in your endeavors.
Yeah, you need a bit of clarity as to what you're trying to achieve, I think.
Okay, and the other one is community. So finding your tribe, finding a community that supports you and what you do, surrounding yourselves in your personal life, people, you need cheerleaders there that believe in what you're doing and to support you. In your professional life, you work and you've built a network of like-minded people, professionals that can support you, and find a community such as HRI that will support you, as well as you find the community of your target audience where they hang out, so that you can hang out with them and tell them, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. So you need different sorts of communities. You need different types of networks to be able to piece it all together to make it work.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's really beneficial.
Right. Anything else you want to add, Charlotte?
I think just around well-being. So, I think really look after yourselves. And, when a lot of people start out in a small business, there's a dream to run a small business. And there's potentially a perception of what that dream's going to be like. And actually, everybody we've spoken to, the reality is not quite the dream. So I think you need to think very carefully about how you structure your time and how you approach your business, and that you actually take time out for yourself and look after yourself.
Absolutely. I think the last one to add is finance. So you need to think carefully about how you're going to finance your business. There may be grants out there that you can access in your local area or national way that you can access to support your business. You also need to think about income-wise, whether you are the main source of income for your family or for yourself, or you've got other income. So how you're going to sustain yourself when, let's say, you're starting especially, and when you do get income coming in, you need to set some aside for rainy days so that you are not necessarily panicking when you look at the bank balance and you don't have much in there, because in running a business, cash is king. And your cash flow is very important to be able to stay on top of that.
It is, and you need to know your numbers. You need to know, what is break even, what makes your business keep moving. And, you need to make sure that you're getting out of it the value for the effort that you're putting in, because it is hard work. And obviously, to start with, that doesn't always line up, and you do have to put more effort to get a new business, a startup off the ground. We all know that, and that's part of the onboarding and starting journey. But there does need to come a point where actually you do look at the value that you're giving clients, the value that you're putting, out into the world, and make sure that you feel rewarded for that.
Absolutely. Right. So it's been an interesting discussion, Charlotte, as always. And I think we can sit here and talk about different aspects and stuff, because quite honestly, there are loads of valuable nuggets in all the conversations that we had with our guests. So once again, I would encourage listeners and viewers to go back and listen to each of those episodes, because there is something to learn from each and every one of them. Thank you very much for tuning in, for listening to us, and for watching us. We're grateful to you for your continuous support. Please share the podcast with your network to help grow our audience. If you have any questions at all, please contact us via hrvoices@hrindependent.co.uk, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Alternatively, if you have any great topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, please put your suggestion forward. And if you want to come on as one of our beloved guests and speak to us, equally reach out. But thank you very much. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of HR Voices. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover or would like to be a guest, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media or email us at hrvoices@hrindependence.co.uk. Tune in next time.